Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Pagan, and in today's lesson we're going to talk about the Pythagorean theorem. Alright, before we get it started with the lesson, let's do some simplifying radicals. Remember that when we have a square root, what we want are pairs, so we're going to break down the number 8 like we used to. 4 times 2 is 8. Break down 4 a little bit more, 2 times 2. I'm going to bring this 2 down as well. And here's a pair of 2's. So what that means is a 2 comes outside of the square root, and this other 2 that's solo would go back inside. So really, square root of 8 is equal to 2 root 2. Okay, so that's how we simplify radicals. All right, let's go ahead and do this again. Now I know that 8 times 8 is 64. I already have a pair right here, so I can go ahead and just take out the 8 outside of the radical, and there is nothing left inside, so square root of 64 is 8. Now some of you might have already known that or had memorized that. If you know that by seeing it, that's awesome for you. Alright, let's look at square root of 7. Square root of 7 is 7 times 1. There are no pairs there, so therefore square root of 7 does not simplify. It just is square root of 7. Alright, let's get into, so we're going to use this concept throughout the lesson, so if you see me doing this, it's just me simplifying radicals. Alright, let's talk about Pythagorean's theorem. So in a right triangle, when we are given 2 out of the 3 sides, you can use Pythagorean's theorem to solve for the missing side, which is the third side usually. Sometimes we're going to have radicals, and we'll have to simplify those answers, as I'll show you in our notes. Remember that your right angle is always angle C. That's not a universal thing. That's just our class thing, so that we have the same communication. The opposite side from it, across from it, called side C, is your hypotenuse. And in a triangle, this is the longest side of the triangle. Okay, and the other 2 sides are called legs, and that's why I always would tell you, hey, it doesn't matter if you want to label this A or B, because they're both the legs of the triangle. Alright, so here's the Pythagorean's theorem. We have the right triangle. Across from it is C, which is the hypotenuse, and side A and side B are called the legs. And the Pythagorean's theorem is either A squared plus B squared equals C squared, or leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. Okay, so if you hear me saying either one of those, I'm talking about the Pythagorean's theorem. Alright, so let's solve the first problem. It says solve for the missing side of the triangle. First, label your sides. If you need to label angles, do that. That's okay. Then set up the Pythagorean's theorem. Okay, now we really don't need to label the angles. We are focusing just on the sides. We are given 2 of them, and we're missing 1. So a couple things. I know that this is a leg, and this one is a leg as well. And across from the 90 degrees, that one is called the hypotenuse. Oops. Forgot how to spell it for a second. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and use the formula that we have, which is leg squared plus leg squared equals hypotenuse squared, or you can say this one is A, this one is B, and this side right there will be RC. Okay, so we have A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and it really doesn't matter which one is your A or B. So we have 6 squared plus 8 squared equals x, because we don't know what it is, x squared, and what we want to do is solve for x. So 6 squared is 6 times 6, which is 36. 8 squared is 8 times 8, which is 64, equals x squared. When we add these up, we get 100. And then when we square root both sides, square root of 100 is 10. Now it is plus or minus 10, but we only take the positive side of it. So x equals 10. So this is what we are going to be doing throughout the lesson. Alright, let's try another problem. So solve for the missing side of the triangle. Now it's shaped a little bit different. Here's the 90-degree angle, so across from it is my hypotenuse. So this one is my hypotenuse. Okay, which means the other 2 are my legs. Okay, so legs are A and B, and my hypotenuse is my C. So let's go ahead and do this. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is 12 squared plus x squared, because I don't know what B is, equals C is 13 squared. All right, 12 times 12 is 144. 13 times 13 is 169. When I subtract 144 to the other side, x squared equals, we get 25. And when I square root both sides, x equals 5. So our missing leg is 5. All right, let's look at another problem. And so here it says solve for the missing side of the triangle. So once again, we have the 90 degree, which means across from it is our hypotenuse. And hypotenuse is labeled with C. And the other ones are our legs. So we'll call this one A. And we don't know what this is, so we'll put an X there. And that's leg, and we'll call that leg B. All right. So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared because we're missing for a side. We have the other two. Ooh, I'm sorry. We have the other two given to us. All right, we're back. So we have a squared, which is 1 squared, plus b is x squared, equals c, which is 4 squared. And 1 squared is 1 times 1, which is 1, plus x squared equals 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16. And then when I subtract 1 to the other side, x squared equals 15. We're going to go ahead and square root. Now x equals the square root of 15. Now I always try to break this down, so that's 5 and 3. I don't have a pair, so therefore it just remains as the square root of 15. Not a nice number, not a pretty number, but it's still my answer. All right, well done. Last problem. So we have solve for the missing side of the triangle. So once again, we have our hypotenuse right here across. And we're going to call that C. And then we have our A, one of our legs, and our X, which we don't know what it is. So we'll call that our B, one of our legs. Okay? So let's go ahead and run the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. A is 2 squared plus x squared equals 6 squared. 2 squared is 4. And 6 squared is 36. When I subtract 4 to the other side to solve for x, x squared equals 32. We're going to go ahead and square root both sides. And x equals square root of 32. Now, I am going to break that down more because I can. I know that 8 times 4 gets me to 32. I know 8 breaks down to 4 times 2, and 4 breaks down to 2 times 2. Bring that 2 down. Ooh, sorry, the bell is ringing. And then we have another 2 times 2. So we have 5 2s. So here's a pair, here's another pair. What that means is a 2 comes out, another 2 comes out, and this 2 right there, that solo, will stay back. So our final answer is 4 root 2. It's a simplified version of the square root of 32. We want that as our final answer. And that's as difficult as we're going to make these problems for you, okay? So great job on today's video. Can't wait to see you in class. Bye.